Hi, I'm Denny Wildman, down here today in Plymouth, North Carolina at the Tidewater Research Center with Dr. Heiniger. This is the second visit that I've made here this year. Doc and I were together about 6 weeks ago taking a look at the corn samples. Wouldn't it be approximately about 6 weeks ago? We were actually in a different replication doing some digging of stalks. Come back today. In front of me is our check. This has SP-1 alone, and over here we have SP-1 with an activate. So Doc, you've been looking at these plots over the last numbers of weeks. Would you talk to me, or talk to the camera? Talk about, Doc, would you talk about what you've been observing this summer with the work that we've been doing?
Well, it's been very interesting. I had not seen this SP product before, and so this was my first time to try it on some trials here. This site here is a very highly productive site, deep organic soil, so we've got a really good opportunity to see what it will do. It's been very interesting. When Denny was here about 6 weeks ago, we looked, of course, again at roots and looked at the mucilage and the development of those root systems there, and seeing very similar to what we're pulling out of this rep. So that was a rep up in the first rep. We're in the fourth rep now, looking at very same results here, and that is a lot stickier. It's fascinating. I have looked at roots a lot in my career, but it's been fascinating here, and that as you look at these soil around these root systems, they're moist and very sticky. It's so much so that when I came along and shook this one out, this soil just fell right off, and you can see all the granulation there of that soil there. But when we went to shake these two off here that had the SP treatment on, this soil still continues to want to cling to this root system, and as you feel it, it's very sticky. It holds together in a ball, much like a soil that's at a much higher soil moisture content than that one right over there. So I've been fascinated by that. It's also been interesting, of course, to look at the plants themselves here. And the one thing we're noting today as this field dries down is the difference here in some of these plants. Yeah, take a look at these. This is the ear, but here's your ear, your next leaf down, your next leaf down. You can see these leaves are already deteriorating here. Here we have our ear. Here's the next leaf. Here's the second leaf below the ear here. You can see how much more healthy those ears or those leaves are. That says a lot about nutrient uptake in this situation. We've had good rainfall here. The soils are been moist all season long. This is a reflection of late season nutrient uptake, and that's reflective of what's going on that I just mentioned from the root system. And of course we can see the same thing here in this treatment as well. There's that second, or that first leaf below, and the second leaf below the ear. So indeed, some very interesting things happening. I'm sort of excited. We were counting the kernels on these ears here just a minute ago, and that one over there has what, 14? Is that right, Denny?
14 rows. 14,
16 rows. So there's two more rows. These ears look very much same from a picture, but if you get up and count them, you can see clearly that we got a couple more rows. If that carries forward for every year in that plot, that's going to be some very exciting yield differences here. So some very interesting things. We've been taking canopy temperature. We did so here again today. I'll have to look at those numbers and do a little statistical analysis to see what those look like. We've taken some tissue samples, and that data has just gotten back to me, so it should probably be reflective of what we see in the color of these leaves here as far as nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus concentration. So I'm eager to see some of that data. Of course, now that I'm seeing these ears, I'm eager to see what yield's going to look like this year.
With the difference that you're looking at in the soil, like the check, the soil just fell out of the root ball, where we had the SP-1, we have the soil seems to have more retained moisture.
Yes.
Would you say through the year that the areas where we've had the SP-1 were draining less actively, or was the soil draining a little bit better where the roots were responding to the application of SP-1?
Well, as far as holding moisture, and I think the soils where we have the SP-1 are holding moisture better, but yet they're not saturated. They're draining in the sense that we're getting excess moisture through the soil profile, but they're holding moisture better in those soils.
You think that would slow a grower from being able to get out and plant earlier versus the check?
I don't. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that. I don't have enough information probably to answer it as enlightenedly as I'd like to. But I think what I've seen here is these soils actively are better shaped as far as drainage, air infiltration, and yet it's all about pore soil structure and pore space when it comes to that. You want that pore space that's able to hold water and yet have enough air and infiltration to allow that root to work there. And I think that SP-1 is certainly contributed to better soil structure or function here in these situations.
Well, hey, you hear it from Dr. Heiniger. We'd like to thank you for your time. We're going to take care of looking at some additional information from harvest, where we're going to look at seed weights, and also we're going to take a look at the soil test values for potassium. In the areas that I've worked since being introduced to SP-1, I've noticed that about 85% of the time that we see greater potassium availability in the soil samples. We've seen some other nutrients show up, such as potassium and phosphorus, or calcium and phosphorus, but potassium really, to me, is a driver with nitrogen for corn yield. And today it seems like we put on potassium and maybe we're not getting the response out of the application that we were some years ago. So, Dr. Heiniger, I'd like to thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Eddie.
And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to work with you.